So as I said, overall, I understand what Dr. Rock Young is trying to get across here. However, I don't think he's actually explained it as efficiently as it could be. So, when we see pH balance, what organ tissues do we need to be looking at for efficiency? Well, really it's the role of kidney in pH balance. If blood is too acidic, then kidney will excrete extra hydrogens into the urine and retain extra sodium. Phosphorus in the form of phosphate is required for this exchange, and the body obtains the phosphorus from bone if it's otherwise unavailable. And this is one of the reasons why we say being acidic may contribute to bone loss or osteoporosis. When the bloodstream is extremely acid, the kidney excretes ammonium ions which contain 4 hydrogens into the urine. When the body is too alkaline, the process is reversed and hydrogen is retained. So we know the kidney actually has several different mechanisms by which it can excrete as efficiently as possible these hydrogen ions. As urine pH falls low, the kidney's ability to concentrate and excrete toxins decreases substantially. So the problem for us as practitioners is when we're seeing people with acidic urine, it means their kidneys aren't usually able to get rid of toxins as efficiently as when the urine is relatively balanced around pH 6.5 or 6.4. There was a study done on the clearance of methotrexate that showed urine pH 5.5. The ratio between methotrexate and creatinine was 0.88. At urine pH 8.4, the ratio was 2.62, which is far more desirable. So the more acidic the urine is, the less efficient it appears that the kidneys can in fact remove toxins from the body. So many people say we can buffer with sodium bicarbonate. And I agree, we can. Because it does effectively reduce urinary pH and it does effectively buffer urinary acids. There's no doubt about that. But it's not a long-term solution. Pouring sodium bicarbonate into the body so the body can actually start to regulate itself doesn't really work. For long-term regulation of pH, we need to increase the alkaline minerals. We'll look at those in a minute. So, if patients are chronically stressed, sodium bicarbonate may lead to sodium loading if used for prolonged periods. So that's why I'm not a fan of it. If someone needs to buffer acid for 2 weeks or 4 weeks, you can use sodium bicarbonate. It's not helping the body buffer itself, okay? You're simply using a relatively natural substance to buffer it. So, Candida contributing to acid? Well, we often talk about poor digestion causing acidity. Poor digestion and leaky gut, as I mentioned earlier, will allow Candida to thrive. As I said, it will ferment sugars and thus it will cause acid to be produced as a byproduct of fermentation. If it's occurring in the intestines, it can affect these things called mineral carrier proteins in the intestinal lining. So our body won't be able to absorb the magnesium, the potassium, the alkalizing minerals as well as they can. So a shift in pH can also bring about a change in gut pH that then sees digestive enzymes such as the lipase and protease, normal digestive enzymes, deactivated, which both protects A, the Candida, from damage, and of course has detrimental effects on how our body breaks down proteins and fats. If the Candida is systemic, then we'll see that it can change the pH in tissues and the extracellular matrix. And remember, as I said, this extracellular matrix is our psycho, neuro, endocrine, immunological interface. Remember, if those systems cannot interface, our body will always struggle to regulate itself. So whenever there are cases where we know there's fungus present, what we need to do is we need to treat this fungus to successfully assist our patients in balancing their pH. So we know also that the body's own buffer system can neutralise small quantities of acid in this area, the extracellular matrix, and then eliminate them, as we said earlier, by the kidneys. Some acid may be eliminated via the liver and bowel, of course via the lungs and skin. With continual ingestion though of acid-forming foods, the buffer system is overloaded and a level of acidity persists, resisting the rhythmic occurrence of a base matrix. Remember I said earlier that we have a lot of enzymes in our body, and the enzymes tend to function in specific pH ranges. For the extracellular matrix to fundamentally be cleansed by the body, production of something called matrix metalloproteinases needs to be enabled. Now, anything that ends in A's generally indicates it's an enzyme. So these matrix metalloproteinases, when they're in an area which is too acidic, they will not function optimally. So we tend to see that toxins will build up in this area of our extracellular matrix, which, as I said, is the psycho-neuro-endocrine immunological interface. So what we're seeing occurring here is as acid builds up in these areas, our body's ability to regulate itself is becoming damaged. Alright. Now, as with many toxins which are not readily excreted, acids will, as I said, accumulate in the matrix. The time that these acids tend to be removed from the matrix, because the extracellular matrix is in connective tissue, is at night. Okay? So generally at night, our body wants to become more alkaline. After all, during the day, we're moving around. We're producing acid with our connective tissue. Our connective tissue, when we go to sleep, is often cleansed by a raise in something called interleukin-1 cytokines, which is a pro-inflammatory state. And so we see that this will in fact occur. But, once again, if the extracellular matrix is acidic, the matrix metalloproteinases, which are triggered by interleukin-1 production, become damaged, and we cannot necessarily cleanse this area. So, what we need to do, and my point here is when we alkalise people, we want to work with the biorhythms of the body. The time people need to be alkalised is before bed. Okay? If you alkalise people before bed or upon going to sleep, there's two things you're going to achieve. Number one, you will not interfere with the acid in their gut. Hopefully they last 2 to 3 hours before going to bed. Number two, it's working with the body's own biorhythms. The body wants the tissues to be more alkaline at night, and thus will assist with cleansing your psycho-neuro-endocrine immunological interface. And of course, sorry, last point on this slide, when we see acid build up in connective tissue, we'll often get symptoms such as stiffness, pain in tendons, muscles, joints. The other thing that occurs, though, is that when the body's in an acidic state, we tend to see minerals such as calcium, as I said, drawn. And calcium phosphate is often drawn out of bones. And so this may contribute to people suffering illnesses such as osteoporosis or even hyperparathyroidism. Remember, though, maintaining a level of acidity will be reflected in symptoms such as malaise or general fatigue, muscle tension, and pain, and also actually promotes the deposition of cellulite. Cellulite tends to be a toxin built up in connective tissue areas. After all, that's where we see cellulite. And once again, that connective tissue area, home of your psycho-neuroendocrine immunological interface, as I said earlier, is cleansed at night and needs to be alkaline for this to occur. So very often when I see patients with cellulite, I never actually directly ask a female patient if they have cellulite. I ask them, what are 5 things you'd change about your body? Because if I ever ask women if they have cellulite, I'm likely to be punched, or at least glared at in a way that I'd rather not be glared at. So I ask people, what are 5 things you'd change about your body? And in my clinical experience, if there is cellulite there and it is an issue for that lady, she'll usually say, oh, I'll get rid of cellulite, I have this, I have that. Okay? As I said, I don't ever directly ask, do you have cellulite? So let's look at the next slide. What are the base minerals? We know potassium, magnesium, sodium, and calcium. These are the minerals that the body uses to manage its own pH. So, what happens when we have lots of dietary protein? We spoke earlier and said, yes, we know that this high animal protein causes acid in the body. Well, it creates more free hard acids. And that includes acids such as sulfuric acid, phosphoric acid, and nitric acid. Okay? What then fundamentally occurs is there's several other steps, but we see sodium depletion will occur. Then, after sodium depletion has occurred, calcium depletion occurs from the tissue, potassium depletion occurs, and magnesium depletion occurs as well. Because they're being substituted for the sodium for the body to regulate its own pH. So these mineral salts are transported to the kidneys and excreted or transported to the liver and bile salts, and are also thus excreted via the gut. Either way, when we have high protein foods, a basic mineral is taken from the body to buffer that acid, and if we do not replace it, a base deficit or an acidic state occurs. And that's why I made the comment earlier. What we need to do is just make sure people have a balanced diet. Okay? This isn't about avoiding all acid-forming foods. It's not about only eating alkaline-forming foods either. It's about having the right ratios.